All right, today we are cracking open a white paper that proposes something, well, pretty radical. It's a concept called ADIC-DAG, and it comes right out and challenges one of the most basic assumptions in all of crypto, the idea that you have to pay to play.
Look, if you've ever actually used a major crypto network, you know this pain. You go to send a little money or maybe interact with an app and bam, you get hit with a gas fee that can be like more than the transaction itself. So why does that happen?
And let's be clear, this isn't just some minor inconvenience. It is a massive roadblock. It makes it totally impractical to use this amazing technology for small, everyday stuff, like buying a coffee or playing a game. It basically keeps crypto in this little box, a niche for high-value trades, instead of becoming a tool for everyone.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break down exactly how ADIC-DAG plans to fix this. We'll start with the fee problem itself, then dig into their wild idea for security, these so-called rules of diversity, how they separate money from power, how a transaction actually becomes final, and then we'll zoom out and look at what a feeless future could really mean. Okay, let's dive in.
Right, so in most systems, think Bitcoin or Ethereum, those fees are absolutely essential. They're the paycheck for the miners or validators who are burning energy and putting up capital to process everything and keep the network secure. But the side effect is this constant, crazy bidding war for space, and that's what sends those fees to the moon.
So, the ADIC-DAG approach isn't just about, hey, let's make fees a little cheaper. No. It starts from a totally different place, by asking a much, much bolder question. Seriously, what if the very structure, the architecture of the network itself could provide all the security we need instead of relying on this kind of economic toll booth at every turn? That's the huge puzzle the ADIC-DAG white paper sets out to solve.
And this is their answer. Now, the full name is a real mouthful. P-ADIC Diversified Consensus Directed Acyclic Graph. So let's just focus on the important parts here. Feeless is obviously the main goal. Reputation-weighted is key. It means your influence comes from being a good, honest participant over time, not from how deep your pockets are. And a tangle. That's a really different way to structure data, more like a complex web than a simple chain of blocks.
And this gets us to the absolute core innovation. Instead of making it super expensive to attack the network, ADIC-DAG tries to make it structurally, almost physically impossible. And it does this by enforcing some really clever rules about how new information can even be added to the web.
Yeah. What's so cool about this slide is the paradigm shift it shows. The old way is all about competition, right? A winner-take-all race to see who can burn the most energy or lock up the most cash. The ADIC-DAG way is collaborative. It's all about weaving your new transaction into this incredibly complex, shared fabric. And every time you do it right, you make the entire structure stronger for everyone.
So how does this weaving actually work? Well, every new transaction you make has to link to several older ones, its parents. But here's the catch. Those parents have to be really different from each other across several categories, or what they call axes. So think of it like this. You can't just link to stuff that happened in the last 5 minutes. You might have to grab a parent from today about finance, and one from yesterday about gaming, from a totally different region. This enforced diversity, which is measured with a fancy math term called a ADIC ultrametric, just makes the network structure so robust and complex that it becomes a nightmare for an attacker to try and forge a fake history.
The whole process is actually pretty elegant. First, your node scans the network for unconfirmed transactions, which are called tips. Then, it weighs those tips based on who sent them, their reputation, and how different they are from each other. After that, it picks a nice, diverse group of parents from across all those different axes we just mentioned. And finally, it forges this new, strong, multidimensional link, weaving your transaction right into the tangle.
Now this is another really brilliant piece of the puzzle. A huge problem in crypto is that the richest people often end up with the most control. ADIC-DAG tackles this problem head-on by basically creating two completely separate systems.
So here's the crucial point. You've got a token, the ADIC token, that you can buy and sell and use for stuff. But then there's a totally separate thing, a reputation score called ADIC Rep, which you can only earn by being an honest and active participant. You can't buy it, you can't sell it, it's yours and yours alone.
And this table just lays it out so clearly. The ADIC token is for utility, maybe some optional services or governance. But the ADIC Rep, the thing you have to earn, that's what determines your weight in securing the network. It's what they call soul-bound. It means a billionaire can't just show up and buy more consensus power than a dedicated, long-time user who has proven they're trustworthy.
And on top of that, the utility token has a fixed maximum supply of 1 billion, so it's a finite resource. It can't just be printed endlessly to try and gain control. You can see here the initial token distribution is really designed to get the ecosystem off the ground, funding things like community grants and R&D, and keeping the network's growth and development totally separate from its core security.
Okay, so you might be thinking, if it's feeless, what stops me from just spamming the network with millions of junk transactions? And the answer is a small, refundable deposit. To send something, you put up a tiny bit of ADIC. As soon as your transaction is confirmed, you get it right back. So it's not a fee, it's more like a security deposit to prove you're acting in good faith.
All right, so if we don't have blocks being added one by one, how does anything ever become final? In a blockchain, a transaction gets buried under new blocks, and that gives you certainty. But in a complex web like the Tangle, how do you ever know for sure that a transaction is permanent and can't be undone?
Well, ADIC-DAG uses two really sophisticated tests. The first one, K-core coverage, basically just asks, is this transaction super well connected? Is it referenced by tons of other diverse transactions, making it a really dense core part of the web? Then there's the second test, homology stabilization, which is even more mind-bending. It looks at the actual multidimensional shape of the network in that area and asks, has the structure around this transaction stopped shifting and become stable? If a transaction passes both of those really high bars, then, and only then, is it considered final.
So let's just imagine a system like this actually works at scale. What does that mean for us? A secure, truly feeless base layer for transactions? I mean, that could unlock a whole universe of new applications that are just way too expensive to even dream of building today.
This quote from the white paper just wraps it all up so perfectly. It's about combining all these advanced, complex ideas, not just for the sake of it, but to build a system that is fundamentally safer, fairer, and just more accessible for everyone.
And that really leaves us with one final massive question. If we can actually remove that economic friction, that toll booth, from our decentralized world, could a technology like this become the foundation for a completely new kind of internet? One where value and data can flow just as freely and cheaply as information does for us today? It's a pretty powerful idea to think about.